Hello and welcome to Flip, part 10 of building this new Series Dalek in Blender. And in this tutorial, we're going to focus on building the eye stalk, the pivot for the eye stalk, the little hole in the dome in which the eye stalk and eye stalk pivot needs to rest in. And if there's time, we'll move on to the eye, but I think it's quite a complicated object, so that might take us into the next video. But let's deselect everything we don't need. So just go 1 for front orthographic. And we're just going to box select around all the main objects. Why is it selecting the dome? Okay, easiest way of doing it. Let's actually select the dome. So click it and then press Control-I to select everything else and just press H to hide. And now we've just got our dome. So we're going to start by modeling the hole in the front of the dome section. And if we look at the plans, it's this little guy here. Now, I think I'm being a bit thick because I can't get these numbers to translate to what it should look like. So there's going to be a little bit of eyeballing it. If you can do it in a more accurate way, please do it, and then please tell me. But what I am going to do is use a cube, and then we're going to Boolean out that shape. So let's just go 1 for front view. We're going to Shift S, cursor to world origin. And Shift A, we're going to add a cube, which is obviously way too big. We need to size it down. So according to the plans, its X size is 38 mils. So X 38. We're just going to type that in the dimensions over here. It's Z. We're going to use this measurement here, which is 137. 137. And then we need to, because if I show you from the side, it's way too long. So its Y dimension, we're just going to change to 100 for now. Okay, so according to the plans, it needs to sit 17 mils up from the chamfer of the dome. And by that, I mean, if I tab into the dome just to show you, this line here, which is where the original arc of the dome then flattens out. So easiest way of doing it, if we pick this central vertex here, press Shift S, cursor to selected, and then tab out of that, grab this cube we've just created, Shift S, selection to cursor. And now we've got quite a lot of work to do. So what I'm going to do, well, the first thing we need to do is add 17 mils to its location. So if we just go the first thing we need to do is move it up by half of itself. So it's 137. So in its Z location, just type add 137 divided by 2. Now that's quite tall, but it does make sense. And now we need to add 17 mils as well. So add 17. So this is going to be wrong. If we were to just Boolean that out, it would look bad. It would look in the wrong place. In fact, if I bring back the cowl, you can see it's not really anywhere near where it should be. So let's hide the cowl again. What I'm going to do, if we go into 3 for right orthographic and then go into viewport shading wireframe, and let's just click our cube. What I want to do is get this origin point here. So this little orangey circle, I want it to be resting exactly on the front surface of the dome. So first things first, because you can see in our scale over here, it's all gone a bit weird. So I'm just going to Control A and apply the scale. And now we're going to GY and just drag it back until that orange spot is resting right on the front surface of the cowl, just like so. And now what we need to do is rotate it so it's basically half in, half out. So we just press R to rotate and swing him round and lay it so it's sort of like that-ish. Now this is way, way, way too high. So what I'm going to do is put in a guide object to help me reposition everything. So if I grab the dome again, tab into edit mode, and we should still have that front vert selected here. If not, double tap A to deselect everything and just grab that front vert. Let's go into 3 for wireframe, for right orthographic, and we're going to go EZ17. So what we need is the back or the bottom of this object to be in line with this point we've just created. So with our cube selected, we're going to press G and then Z and then Z again, because we need to move it along its local axis. Now, the way we've rotated it means its bottom is no longer pointing to the ground. Its bottom is now pointing off to the side. And in many ways, all of our bottoms are pointing off to the side in this crazy world. But let's just drag him down. It's following its local axis to about there. That should do it. And now we can delete that guide vertex. So tab into our dome and just X delete vertex. So let's have a look. Before we cut into it, we just need to bevel this object. Actually, now I've moved it, I just want to rotate it a little bit differently. So let's just rotate it a bit more like that. There we go. It doesn't have to be too accurate, because basically all this is going to be is a big hole. But yeah, let's bevel it now. So tab into edit mode, double tap A, press 2 for edge mode, and we're going to shift click this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we're going to press Control B and scroll out. So 3 segments is good, and let's just make it a 2mm bevel. And tab out of that, right click Shade Auto Smooth. That's good. Now, before we do anything, let's just click our dome, Shift D to duplicate it, right click to confirm, just drag it into this little backup folder we have over here. Okay, now let's click our dome, go over to our modifiers panel, which is this little wrench over here, if you remember, add modifier, generate Boolean, and then I can't apply, but when I was about 20 odd years ago, when I used to do computing classes, my friend genuinely thought a Boolean operation was called a bouillon operation, and I can't think of the word Boolean without going bouillon and getting really, really annoyed about how he said it. Little sidebar there. So in our bouillon modifier, just make sure difference is selected and solver is set to exact. Grab our little eyedropper tool, and then grab the cube we just created, and then we can apply that. Now, because that cube's still there, it looks exactly the same. But if we click the cube and press H to hide, ta-da! Got ourselves a big-ass hole, which is exactly what we want. So if we tab into our dome, double tap A to deselect everything, go 3 for face mode. We're going to grab this face right at the bottom, press X, delete faces. We can leave everything else in the same place. We just need to tidy up some geometry. So if I go 1 for vertex mode, and then we need to start connecting these unconnected vertices. And it's just good modeling practice. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it might cause a couple of shading errors. So easiest way of doing it, if we make sure this feature over here, auto merge vertices, is turned on, and then we're going to grab this guy here. We're going to double tap G to slide it along its edge and just move it towards its neighbor, and that'll join together automatically. And then this one here, GG, bring him down. This one here, GG, bring him across. This one here, GG, bring him down. These are all fine. This one, we're going to go GG, drag him across. So we've got a triangle here, but that's fine. This one here, GG, bring him across. This one, let's go GG and bring him up. This one, GG, bring him up. This one here, we're going to go GG, bring him across. This one, GG, bring him across. And yeah, might as well do these ones. So GG, bring him up. And this one here, GG, bring him up. Is that any good? Yeah, that's okay. Cool. So what we should also do actually is go 3 for face mode. We're going to select this one here, shift click this one here, and shift click these two here, and just press Control T just to triangulate them. So now every point is connected. And that's worked really, really well. Now the depth of this cut doesn't really matter, but let's just leave it like this for now. And then if I Alt-H to unhide everything, oh, we can delete our cube. You can see how that sits in the dome. In fact, if we go into Material Preview, or in fact, viewport shading rendered, you can see it's very dark in there because all our light is being obscured. It'll look different in Eevee because it doesn't quite work the same, but yeah. Oh, that's come out really, really well. So the next part we need to create is the pivot that the eye stalk sits on, and the pivot itself sits in that hole we've just created. So if we Shift S, cursor to world origin, let's just go back into viewport shading solid. Let's just press A to deselect everything, or to select everything, and then H just to hide it. Now we're going to go 1 for front view. Yeah, that should be fine. And then we're going to go Shift A, add a mesh. We're going to add a cylinder. And I've already got my settings up here. So we want the vertices to be 64, radius to be 50, and the depth to be 36. And then we also need to rotate it 90 degrees on its y-axis. So just type down there 90. And then let's go 3 for right orthographic. Let's just click out of that to confirm that. And if I click on the object, let's just change its rotation. So let's just Control A and apply its rotation. Now, it's squared off at the front, so it's not quite 100mm diameter. So let's do that now. We're going to tab into edit mode. 1 for vertex mode. We're going to grab this vertex here, and I'm just going to use this to create a little guide object. So if we go EY minus 97, which puts that there, and we've got 2 vertices close enough at the top and the bottom, so this one and this one. I'm going to use that as the front of the object. So it's not quite 97. Yeah, not quite. So it's close enough. So easiest way that we're going to do this, let's just delete this vertex here. As I say, that was just a guide. We're going to select this one up the top here. K for our knife tool. Click. And start dragging down towards its counterpart down below. But press C to make sure you're cutting through both halves of the mesh. Oh, did I think, yeah, that is the right one. It's this one here. So, and then enter to confirm that cut. And as you can see around the other side, it's done exactly the same cut. And now we just need to shift click all these vertices here. And then this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. X, delete vertices. So now we've got a big flat hole in the middle. And in many ways, we all have a big flat hole in the middle. I'll stop doing that. 2 for edge mode. Grab this top edge, shift click this bottom edge, and press F for face. And that is like 90% of the work done. So let's just do a little bevel now before we do the next part. So if we tab into edit mode, double tap A to deselect everything, and let's just, while in edge mode, alt shift click this ring here, alt shift click this ring here, shift click this bottom edge and shift click this top edge. Just press Control B, and it only needs to be a tiny bevel, so just hold shift and drag out. Let's make it 0.5, an offset of 0.5. So now we need to start selecting these faces so we can extrude them out. Now, probably the easiest way, but not the most accurate way, but we're going to do it anyway, is to grab this face here. We are going to Control click around, Control click and Control click and Control click all the way to the front here. Just like that. So now we've got that ring of faces selected. And we're going to press I to inset them and then drag in. But you see, it does it all as one selection. So if we press I again, you can inset every individual face. So it doesn't need to be much. Let's just do it by 0.9. Oh, maybe even 1. No. Let's just make it... That's better. Let's make it 0.5. And then with all those faces still selected, we're going to press Alt-E, extrude faces along normals, and we're just going to drag them out just a smidge. So They are 1 millimeter depth. So just type in offset 1 millimeter. And there you have it. That's that object created. Now we need to position it. So if we bring back the dome and let's tab into it, double tap A to deselect everything. We're going to press 2 for edge mode, and we're going to Alt-Shift-click that inner edge we've created. We're going to Shift-S, cursor to selected, and then if we tab out of that, click our cylinder, which I'm going to call I pivot. We're going to Shift-S, selection to cursor. Now, it's not in the right place, so if we go 3 for right orthographic, then go into our wireframe shading. Let's just eyeball it a bit now. So if we press G and then Shift X, just to make sure we don't move it in the X direction, and we can just drag it to where he needs to be. So around here is okay. So you want most of it inside the dome, but a little bit sticking out. And if we bring back the cowl, you can see is too high. So let's just press GZ and just move him in. And again, doing this by eye. There's no official, as far as I know, measurements. But I think that's positioned very nicely. So it's sitting right in that hole there. And there's enough room for it to rotate up and down. And by George, I think we've sorted it. It's got these nice little indents. If you want to be really, really pedantic, let's tab into the eye pivot. And as luck would have it, we've got all these faces still selected. So 2 for edge mode. Let's just press Control B and give it a smidge of a bevel. A little smidge of a bevel. So let's make it a 0.25 and only 2 segments. And then right click, Shade Auto Smooth. Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah, that looks good. Cool. Okay, so now we need to create the eye stalk, and we're going to do the eye discs as well. I have some problems with the measurements for the eye discs, and it's probably just me being stupid, but as we're doing it, you'll see what's going on, hopefully. And if you can think of where I'm going wrong, then please, please tell me, because it doesn't... This is why this video, I don't know if you ever look at my clock here, this video is set slightly in the future compared to the previous ones, because I'm doing it again for the second time, because it took me a while to work out what I should have been doing. Backstory. Right, we are going to Shift-S, cursor to world origin. In fact, we don't need to do that at all. We're going to click our eye pivot. We are going to tab into edit mode. We're going to double tap A, make sure everything's deselected. 3 for face mode. Select this front face. Shift-S, cursor to selected. And then we can actually hide everything other than the eye pivot. So with the eye pivot selected, press Control-I, and then H. And then we're going to go 3 for right orthographic. And we are going to add a cylinder. So if we go Shift-A, Mesh, and Cylinder. And well, it's already got my previous settings here, so you can just copy those. On the plans, it's 140 plus all these dimensions here. And I've worked out that comes to 253. The radius I'm working out from this eye pivot here. So it says 22.2 as a diameter, but which is 11.1. I'm just going to make it 11 because I'm contrary. And for its depth, doing 253 versus 64. Yep, that will still make sense. And then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis. And then we just need to move it so this back part is flush here. So in its Y position, we're going to type in minus 253 divided by 2. And now it's sticking out where it should be. And let's just right click, Shade Auto Smooth, and we're going to call this eye stalk. Now, to create the discs, the measurements I have a problem with, it says it's 15 millimeters in between each disc, but that's too big from how it's positioned it. So I think what they actually mean is 1.5. I think they mean 1.5 mils from the front of one disk to the back of another disk. If that measurement doesn't make sense, then please do tell me. But that's how I'm going to model it. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to create a bunch of guide objects. So let's tab into edit mode of the iStalk, double tap AD, select everything. We're going to create a loop cut. So Control R, click, and drag him right to the back. And then we're going to base the first iStalk iDisk measurement as if it's 140 mils from the back. So we're just going to go GY minus 140. And that looks about right. And then what we need to do is create the iDisks out of some circles. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So we've got the dimensions of the iDisks here. So the smaller one is this one. The medium one is this one. And then the big one is this one. So we're going to create them in reverse order. We're going to start with the smallest to biggest. So what we need is a circle with a radius of 63.5. So we need to create another guide object. So still in edit mode on our iStalk, we're going to Control R, add another loop cut, click and drag it to this loop cut we've just created. And then we're going to go GY minus 63.4. And with that loop selected, we're going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. Tab out of edit mode, we're going to Shift A, add a mesh, add a circle. We want its number of vertices to be 64. And its radius is whatever I just said, which is 63.5. 63.5. And then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees on the y-axis, which is there. So obviously that's way too big. Let's just tab into edit mode, 1 for vertex select, and let's just delete all the vertices in front of that halfway point. So X, delete vertices, and then just go into wireframe shading. We can delete all these ones on the bottom as well. So everything below this center vert we can delete. Just like that. Now, according to the plans, the size of the disk is 13.1 mils. So again, we're going to give ourselves a guide object. Let's just select this central point here, and we're going to EY minus 13.1, which puts it here. So it gives us a Y position of minus 375.5. So I'm going to call that 375. I'm going to look for a vertex that's roughly 375, or its Y position is roughly 375. So I've got one here, 373, not bad. 376. Okay, we're going to move this vertex back. So pay attention to its Y position here. We're going to double tap G and hold down Shift and just drag it back until it says minus 375, or as close as we can get. Get in, my son. There we go. And we can delete all the vertices in front of that. So just box select and X, delete vertices. Now these two here look a little smidged up. So let's just A to select everything, or we can delete that vertex there. A to select everything, right click, loop tools and space. And that just evens it all out. And then let's just go 1 for front view. We're going to press, we're going to grab our spin tool. I'm just going to drag it around. Let's make number of steps to be 64, angle 360. And then let's just A to select everything, right click, merge vertices, merge by distance. And then get rid of our spin tool just by pressing our select box. Just go into solid view. You should be able to see what we've created here. That's looking nice. And we just need to give this some thickness. So if we add a modifier, generate, solidify, 10 mils is obviously way too thick. So let's just make it 1. Cool. And then let's just right click, shade auto smooth. And that is our first iDisk selected. So let's go 3 for right orthographic again. Let's go back into our iStalk. Let's go into wireframe shading. Now, this line here, I'm going to 2 for edge mode, right click, dissolve edges. And then I'm going to grab this initial loop cut we did. So I'm going to Alt-Shift select that loop, and I'm going to move it back on its Y position to be the same size as or to be the same depth as this I disk. So what did we say that was? 13.1. I'm going to go GY minus 13.1, which puts it right at the front of the object. And then I'm going to GY minus 1.5 rather than 15. Because if I were to do 15, so GY minus 15, the next disk doesn't start all the way over here, which to me looks way too far. So GY minus 1.5. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing I just did. So I'm going to Control R to add another loop cut, click and drag. And then the next circle needs to be a radius of 73. So we're going to go GY minus 73. Then we're going to Shift S, cursor to selected, tab out of that. We're going to Shift A, mesh, circle. And whatever I said it was, it's a radius of 73. And then we're going to rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to tab into that, 1 for vertex mode, delete everything at the front that we don't need, delete everything underneath that central vertex. So if you don't know, I'm pressing X to delete vertices there. And then again, I'm going to create a little guide object. So we're going to select its middle vertex here and go EY, and this is a depth of 15.1. So EY minus 15.1, which brings its Y position to 392, close enough. So again, I'm going to look for a vertex that's at 392, probably this one here at 393. So let's just pay attention over here to minus 393. We want to make sure it says minus 392. So GG, hold down Shift and just drag it back. 392. Hoo-yah! And then let's just delete everything in front of it. X, delete vertices. A again. Oh, let's get rid of this guy. A to select everything. Right-click, Loop Tools, space. Cool. 1 for front view. And then grab our spin tool and do exactly the same thing again. By the way, if your axis isn't right on the spin tool, if you're trying to drag and it looks like that, for example, and it just screws everything up, just play around with the directions up here. So in this case, it's Y that we need. Again, let's just make sure the angle is set to 360. And then we're going to go A to select everything, right click, merge vertices by distance. Select our box tool, add tab out of edit mode into object mode, add a modifier, generate, solidify 1 millimeter, and then apply that. Cool, and then shade auto smooth. And we're going to do exactly the same thing we just did. So let's tab into our eye stalk, 2 for edge mode. We're going to right click, dissolve that edge we created there. Then we're going to Alt-Shift click this initial positioning edge loop. And again, we're going to move him down so he's the same size as this, as the depth of this disk. So what did I say that was? 15.1. So we're going to go GY minus 15.1, which you can't see now because it's slightly hidden. If I go into wireframe, you can see it's right there. And then we're going to add another 1.5, or take away in this case, GY minus 1.5. And then we need to add another loop cut, which is 82.5 millimeters away from that. So Control R, click, drag, GY minus 82.5, which puts it actually beyond where it should be. Yeah, fair enough. Shift S, cursor to selected. Tab out of edit mode. We're going to Shift A, add a mesh, add a circle, and 82.5 in the radius, rotate it 90 degrees on the Y axis, and then tab into edit mode, 1 for vertex mode, delete everything in front of this halfway point, delete everything below this central point here, yep, delete vertices. And then again, we're going to create a little guide vert. So that needs to be 17.1. So EY minus 17.1. So So that's Y position is about minus 411. So minus 412. Yeah, let's grab this one and just GG drag him until it's roughly minus 411. And boom goes the dynamite. Lovely. Double tap A, deselect everything, delete everything in front of him. Delete this guide vertex. A, right click, loop tools, space, 1 for front view. Grab little spinny Jim there and just drag him round. Angle 360. A to select everything. Right click, merge vertices, merge by distance. Grab our select box. Let's go into our solid view. And then tab out, we're going to add a modifier, generate solidify 1 mil. And then apply that. Right click, shade auto smooth. So rather than modeling them all again, what I'm going to do is join these all up as one object, and then going to rotate it round. So if we select and then shift click and then shift click and press Control J, let's just call these. Oh, something doesn't have a solidify applied to it. Well, what have I not solidified? I didn't apply the first one. Apply that. Okay, do that again. Control J, and then let's just call it I discs. Okay, now we need to do some more positioning with our guide objects. So let's hide that for the minute. No, let's not hide it. Let's go into the eye stalk, tab into edit mode. This row here that actually extends beyond, let's just press 2 and then dissolve those edges, right click and dissolve those edges. And let's find our original positioning object, which is here. So this is the one that started off as 140 and we've just been sort of whooping it back. So let's just Alt Shift select this. And again, I'm going to add the depth of the object, this last ring we created, which I said was 17.1. Yeah. So we're going to GY minus 17.1. And then, again, it says 38 here. I reckon that's 3.8. So we're going to go GY minus 3.8. Because if I'll show you where it would be if I did 38. So that's GY minus 38. It's all the way over there. There ain't enough space for it. So it's GY minus 3.8. And then tab out of that. And I'm going to grab our iDiscs. I'm going to Shift D to create a duplicate of them. I'm going to right click to confirm that. Then R to rotate and type in 180. Now it's in the wrong position. So if we go into our wireframe, I'm going to turn on snapping up here with this little magnet. Make sure snap to edge is selected. I'm going to grab the object. I'm going to press G to grab, Y to constrain it to the Y direction, and just snap it to that edge we've just created. And I think we've done it. Now, hopefully that looks all right. To me, it looks like there should be more space between these two, but I can't think of any other numbers that would make that happen. So hopefully this does all make sense. If you can think of a way to do it better than how I've just done it, for the love of God, please tell me. Last thing to actually, let's just go back into our iStalk and let's just delete this very, very helpful guide edge we've been using. So just right click, dissolve edge. Thank you for your service. And let's call it a day there. So let's go back into solid view. We're going to go Alt H to unhide everything. And it looks a bit weird without the eye, but the eye is quite a complicated object. So I think I'm going to do the whole of the next video about the eye. And then after that, we just have to do the gun stick and the plunger arm. The plunger arm is unnecessarily complicated. The gun stick is necessarily complicated. But hopefully this has been helpful for you. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Any questions, please give me a shout. Any advice, please do give me a shout. And I'll see you in the next video.